Hey friends, welcome back to Stronger Every Day. So I don't know if you've noticed, I've kind of changed the background on some of these. I'm not really sure if I'm going to keep this background or the other. It gets a little distracting on the other one because kind of the facing behind me is the kitchen area and the kids. Some of you like seeing the kids, my four-legged babies are you know, kind of chilled out in one of the chairs. And the secret to that, and I responded to someone that mentioned that, is I typically shoot these videos after they've eaten, so their tummies are all full, and we have senior babies, as you know, and so they're ready to take a nap. So that's typically how I get the videos filmed, is after they have eaten and their little tummies are all full and they're ready for their afternoon nap. So but for now, we're gonna try this. They're in the bedroom hanging out. I don't know what I have on TV in there for them. I can't really hear it that well. Not sure, but anyway, so we're gonna get on video number 3 of the mind, and we left off talking about John 22:44 and the anguish that God had where he sweat drops of blood, and what anguish actually means, and all of the things that go with that. So today I wanted to talk about kind of pick up on that. So where do we go from there, right? When we have feelings of anxiety, we're all gonna have those from time to time. We're gonna be anxious about something, whether it's a deadline or a bill due or a car repair or a loved one having a procedure or a disease, whatever that kind of looks like. There's always going to be periods of anxiety. It's how we respond to that anxiety that counts. So somebody could tell us something and we could just spiral down into every bad and negative thing that could possibly happen. Or, as we've talked about before, we can change that focus and focus on God. And I can tell you, after 28 years almost of suffering with depression and anxiety, sometimes in the initial beginning it's harder to not go down that rabbit hole and focus on God, but it's always better. It's always better. It's always better, because once somebody with depression and anxiety, once you start going down that rabbit hole, you know your mind, and you know that not only are all the bad things you're thinking are going to be on repeat thousands of times in your mind, but you're also going to think of new ones, because the devil's going to start throwing everything he can at you. Haha, this happened, I told you, nothing's ever going to change, it's always going to be bad, God doesn't even love you, are you really even a Christian? All of the negative. Or you can recognize and acknowledge the situation, and like we've talked about before, that does not mean that God's going to take the situation away. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. We don't always know his plan or understand his plan, and I don't even think that our minds, sometimes I don't even think our minds can understand. If he sat us down face to face and said, here's why I'm allowing this to happen, I don't know that we could even understand or fathom what he's telling us. And so sometimes he doesn't tell us why things happen. I don't understand why certain things have happened in my life. I don't understand why you know, my mom and I, we had a not a normal mother-daughter relationship. She loved me with everything she had. She also had mental illness issues, and we struggled at times to get along. Now, she was the funniest, most fun-loving, carefree at times person that you could ever come across. But there was a different side, and it was her darker side from the depression that she struggled with. And so, you know, you learn these things and you try to figure out how to work around them. And I think for a long time that partially has to do with why I denied ever wanting to talk about me being depressed, because I almost kind of revolted against being like her during that time period. But you know, this isn't a bash session. My mom and dad, I always had clothes on my back, food in my stomach. I always had sports equipment for whatever sport I was playing. I was in the chorus. I was in the I played basketball, volleyball, softball, tennis, track, summer ball. I played all year round since the time I was 3. And so academics, things that I needed, I was always had those things. They loved me. My mom loved me with everything she had in her. We just struggled to get along. And like I said, there were days where I'd almost wet myself laughing at just some of the things that she would do and say. And then there were days that were harder. And so, you know, you're going to have things that happen. You're going to have, you know, I don't understand why I had to lose her at such a young age. So she's been gone. It'll be 11 years this October. And she passed at 59. And, you know, trying to wrap my head around why, you know, the 5 years before that, she had cancer, breast, brain, and liver cancer. And so, you know, it was a constant chemo thing, and why that happened. And, you know, I could go down that rabbit hole, or I could just be thankful that we got to have her for 59 years. I miss her every day, and despite the fact that we didn't have what I would consider a typical mother-daughter relationship, we're very different. She loved shopping and getting dressed up and all of that, and I didn't like any of that. I mean, as you can tell, right? I mean, I do wear makeup when I do videos, but my hair is always in this little, whatchamacallit, or, you know, for years it was in a bun or a ponytail. I don't own a blow dryer. We were just different. So just different things. So the thing is that when you're having anxiety, it's not getting lost in it, right? It's not getting lost in the situation. Well, how do you do that? Like, I want the practical things of how you do that. And does this mean it's going to work for everyone? No. But at least it gives you kind of a guideline of what to go by. So how do we fight against the anxiety and depression issues coming up? So prayer, number one, first and foremost, pray. Focus on the Lord and pray. Like I said, it doesn't take the situation away, but it stops you from going down a rabbit hole. And sometimes, and oftentimes, you're gonna have to fight against that more than once, especially if you have depression and anxiety, because the devil's not just gonna leave you alone. If he throws a situation at you and you successfully combat him and you don't go down his little rabbit hole, he's gonna come at you again. For me, he always does. And so it's repetitive. You're not going to win this one, right? God's in control and you're not going to win. So prayer, thinking about God first, petition, talking with God, the expressing thanksgiving. Now, sometimes you might think, well, how am I supposed to be thankful that my relative just got diagnosed with cancer, or that I'm about to lose my house, or about I didn't get that promotion that I so clearly deserved? Sometimes that's difficult to be thankful, but there are other things to be thankful for, right? Maybe that house is going to burn in a year. So he's been trying to figure out a way to get you out of there, and you weren't listening, or didn't want to, or didn't think there was a way. And so he's making that move for you. Maybe there's so many things that we have no idea what the future holds, and we don't understand always when God... I'll give you an example about the burning. So my dad owned a couple of rental properties, and he has a house, and then he owns a couple of rental properties. And at one point he was talking about moving into one of the rental properties because it was smaller, it was less to maintain, it was back closer to his more of his group of friends and the restaurants he likes. And I was adamant that no, it's an okay neighborhood, but it wasn't the safest neighborhood. There was a lot of stairs there that I didn't think were a good idea to try to get down and do laundry and just different things. So I had lived there for a few years before Nick and I met, and I enjoyed it, but there were things that I saw from the neighbors. It's weird because across the street is multi-million-dollar homes, but then that street, it was a triplex, so it was probably worth, I don't know, $250,000, $300,000. The houses on down past it were probably a little bit more than that, but then there was some duplexes there that didn't always have, they had good people in them, but sometimes they didn't. But like I said, it was just a weird area of town, and that was not what I wanted for my dad. And my dad's grown, obviously. I don't tell him what to do. I give him advice if he asks for it, and that's the same he does for me. But me wanting him to move to that place was absolutely not. That was not going to happen. He sold it and stayed in his home. A year later, that place burnt. Thankfully, all the tenants, which were still tenants that were there when he was there, got out and were safe. None of them were home, and they couldn't have animals there, so that everything was fine that way. But that's just one example of things that you don't really understand at the time, because you can't see what's going to happen a week, a month, or a year later. Another thing that we can do is just trusting God. So just like that. I mean, you know, I know that Dad kind of wanted to move back to that place. And I prayed about it. You know, Dad prayed about it, and he ended up staying. And like I said, the place, it burnt a year later. Thankfully, everyone got out, but it's just, you never know what's going to happen or why certain things are happening. So sometimes it might look like, why would I say be thankful about that? And, you know, I'm not thankful that Gordy is going through what he's going through, or my family members going through what they're going through. I'm not enthused about that. I'm thankful that God has his hands on them. I'm thankful that God is in charge of the situation. I'm thankful that he's given me time to spend with both of them, and we've had several other family members and friends that are dealing with certain situations. So I'm thankful for that. There's always something to be thankful for. Maybe not a certain situation, but also trusting God. So the devil tries so hard to get us to focus on how much further we have left to come versus how far we've come. So using myself as an example, and I've said this before, some of the things I have done have been so selfish, stupid, arrogant, rude, mean, obviously not thinking well, things that don't, if you looked at me, you would think, well, there's no way that girl's a Christian. And in fact, I have been for years. But he wants you to focus on all that, right? The person you were before. Maybe you were into drugs. Maybe you were an alcoholic. I don't know that I was ever an alcoholic, but I used to drink quite a bit. And sometimes that led to things that were not intelligent decisions. Maybe you have done horrible things but you're no longer that person. But what we want to do is, once you've done something bad, we want to write you off. You know, this whole, I won't use the name, but there was somebody in Hollywood, they made a stupid comment, and I don't think it was meant in the light that it was taken. But was it a good comment to make? No. And since then, it's been like, well, they're a bad person. They're horrible. You know, everything they've ever done, this is exactly what they are. You don't know that. They said something stupid. Like, I mean, I've done stupid things before. And if you're going to write me off because I've said or done something stupid, I would have no one in my life. And I would be someone who would be just alone. And we want to, you know, it's almost that arrogance of I'm better than them. I would never do or act or say what they did or act or said. And to be honest, sometimes in certain situations you have no idea how you would act. So we like to judge and kind of throw that out there, but maybe we should just kind of reel it back in just a little bit and realize that people are human. Christians are human. I've said this before, we get called hypocrites a lot, and we're not hypocrites, we're human. I've never claimed to be perfect. I am far from it. I have no problems admitting that I am far from the woman that I want to be. But every single day, God is leading me closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to Him. It's Lucille in the background. She's a talker. Same, I haven't even mentioned Lucille. She's 17. She's our cat. She's our last indoor cat. She has cancer. Things are hard around here. You know, all of our babies are older. A lot of them have issues. You know, we've had an aunt and an uncle both in the hospital and having, one had surgery, had a couple surgeries, and one is kind of a day-by-day thing. You know, my other relative, it's just a lot. So you have to take control of your mind and say, I'm not going to let this bring me down. Number one, it's not what God wants. Number two, you've lost your focus on God. Number three, you can't be there for them if you are in a downward spiral. So another thing we've talked about, I don't remember, it was a video several times ago, and I talked about take an inventory of your thoughts. Meaning, what I mean literally by that is write them down. Write down every thought that you have over the course of a day and just see where your mind takes you. See what you're actually thinking about. Because I think a lot of us think, I don't understand what's wrong with me. But then if it's on paper where you've written down everything, every negative junk thought that the devil's put in your mind that day about yourself or about somebody else or about the situation or whatever, then it's a lot easier to see. I try to be very real on my videos and let you know that I still have bad days. I still have bad times. I have to fight hard. I have to practice what I preach. And when I say that, I'm saying that as a term, not that I'm a preacher. I am not a preacher. I was not called to preach. I was called to help people that are Christians that have mental health issues. It's a phrase, but practice what I preach. I have to, God is helping me, but He's also given me things to do, right? We've talked about that. My diet, studying and reading His Word, taking vitamins to help, making sure I take my medication every day. And that includes other medications. I have low thyroid, so it's my thyroid medicine. I have a hole in my heart, so I have to take a baby aspirin. It's just different things that I have to take on a daily basis that sometimes I forget to take. It's doing changing my diet, getting some exercise, getting some outside time, finding things that actually bring me joy. I remember the last therapist that I went to talk to, he asked me, he's like, well, what do you do for fun? And I mean, my face was, what? You know? And I still don't really know how to answer that. I think my future answer is going to be, because I'm enjoying so much, I planted some seeds of tomatoes and peppers. And so every day for the past, I guess, close to a month now, I've been going in there and watering them and watching them grow and transplanting and talking about the garden, getting it prepared, getting prepared for the chickens, building the chicken coop and all of that, getting mobile fences for the goats and the chickens to get them out on the land. I'm finding a lot of joy in that. I'm finding a lot of joy in studying and reading His Word and just the peace that it brings me. When he asked me that, and I even came home and I asked my husband, I said, what do you do for fun? And he was like, I don't know, what? You know, what are you talking about? We're very goal oriented and go, 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 right? We have 13 acres. We have my dad, Nick's mom and dad, we have his side of the family has a huge family. We have my small little side of the family. We have a lot of fur babies. We are bringing in chickens, you know, just different things. And neither one of us, we're both kind of like, what is this fun that you're talking about? Not saying that we don't laugh and cut up, but like, what do we do for fun? I still don't know the answer to that. Like I said, I think that it's gonna be, I spend time in my garden. I spend time canning and preserving, and I am actually learning to enjoy cooking and just different things like that. But have you ever asked yourself that question? What do you do for fun? I don't think we're weird in the fact that we don't know the answer to that. We enjoy certain things, but we haven't done them in years. We both enjoy going golfing every now and then. I am not a good golfer. Nick is a good golfer. I like driving the golf cart. That's my, you know, I play the first 2 or 3 holes and then I'm like, nah, I'm done. But I'll drive you around in the golf cart. But he likes to play golf, and we enjoy that together. Getting outside, getting a little bit of exercise, driving around in the golf cart, being funny and goofy and laughing, and seeing deer and just different things out there when we're out there. That's something that we enjoy, but it's been probably 3 years since we've played golf. We enjoy just getting in the car and going for a ride, and it's not been the most cost-effective thing lately to jump in the vehicle and go for a drive for 3 or 4 hours. It's just, you know, just different. Some people like going to the movies. Neither one of us are big movie people. Some people like going to concerts. We did go to a concert for my birthday last year, and that was the first concert I've been to in probably 20 years. I mean, it's just, you know, it's not something that we do. I grew up playing sports year round, 24/7, all the time, and I haven't played a sport in a long time. Just different things. It's just trying to think of like things, but I thought that was interesting that we were both kind of like, wait, fun, what do we do for fun? I don't know. And I even asked my father-in-law the next day. Mom cooked us dinner, and so we went up and I said, what do you do for fun? And he made the exact same face. You know, like, I mean, I don't know. Now my dad, he gets some beach time in, right, a couple times a year. He enjoys Florida. He and my mom have vacation there usually once a year. When we were growing up, my brother actually lived in Florida for years, probably, I don't know, 10 or longer years. And so we would always go around Christmas to Florida to see him, and then we would go in the summer, sometimes to see him, sometimes a little bit closer to where we were from, but we would always see him at some point during that trip as well. But just different things. They love going to the beach. My dad is retired, but he and a bunch of people that he retired or knew that retired from the same place that he retired, they have a little a part-time job, and they enjoy that. There's different things that, you know, my dad does that he enjoys, but I don't know that he would even be able to tell me, aside from I enjoy getting to the beach. He loves just the sound of the ocean and the beach, and just the fresh ocean air, and just kind of getting away from the hustle and bustle. But I don't know. What do you guys love? What's your thing? What do you do for fun, I guess, in the comments? And not something that you want to do or that you think you should do, but what do you actually do for fun? I would be interested to hear that down below. I want to talk about Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now I want to talk about this because that's absolutely true. But I think sometimes that gets taken out of context. What it actually means is not that anything I want to do, I can do. It's God will give me the ability and strength to do anything that is in His will. So if I say I want to buy tomorrow, I want to go out and I want to buy 3,000 square feet home on 1,000 acres with a barn and a shed and the fencing already in place and a full-scale garden with a greenhouse and, you know, maybe an acre garden. I'm gonna do it. Well, if that's not God's will, you know, that's not gonna happen. But I think sometimes we take that out of context, that it's God's will. It's what God wants us to do. So sometimes we get a little like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, get a little punch there, and God will give you the power and strength to do anything that's in His will, but it's in His will, not what I want to do. So just a couple of things. I'm gonna finish the 3rd episode for the Mind today on this, and then we will, I think, maybe have more. We'll see. There is a few more things that I wanted to dive deep into. I have not yet, so if the Lord leads me to do that, then we'll do that. If not, then we'll switch to something else. I do have some other video ideas in mind. I kind of keep a list of when something pops in my head of what I would like to study and talk about. So I do have other things, but I think I might have another one, at least one more, if not 2 more on the mind, or it may be something that we do down the road. It may not be in succession on the videos, but we'll stop it here today, guys. I wanted to thank you all. I want you to know that when you comment down below or when you send me a message on Instagram, I read all of those. Some are a little harder to read. Some are meant to be a little more judgmental, but a lot of them are just you reaching out and telling me things that are happening and things you need prayer for. And I want you to know that that doesn't just fall on deaf ears. And when I respond back, I don't just respond back out of, well, I need to, you know, out of being obligated to. When I respond back, I'm actively praying for you. And when I pray at night, I might not remember your name, because as we just talked about, I'm not good with memorization, but I remember your circumstance, or I remember a person that reached out to me for this or for that, and I'm actively praying for you. I hope that you feel that. I hope that you actually are feeling God working through just you talking and me praying for you, to know that you're actively being prayed for. And as always, I appreciate your prayers and love and support. And that's kind of the community I want to create here, is that we can talk to each other about things in the comments. There will never be a time that someone is going to be mean to one of you all. They will be blocked and deleted immediately. Sometimes I let some comments go because that's an opinion that they have that's different from mine, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong. It just means it's different from me. So, but if I feel like that comment is going to be detrimental to anyone else reading it, then it will be deleted. But the comments that most of you guys leave about either you needing prayer or something going on in your life that's not going on deaf ears, I read that and I pray for you, and I hope that you feel God moving from the prayer. That's my wish anyway, because it means of the world to me that you would actually reach out to someone like me and tell me something that's going on in your life and trust me with that information that's hard to get out. And so you're being prayed for, and it's not just a one and done. I typically pray daily at night for the people that are watching these videos, and that they're being helped and blessed and comforted, and knowing that you're loved. That's very important. Not like the fake love. Now, obviously we don't know each other face to face, but the love of loving a fellow brother or sister in Christ, and loving somebody who is struggling like I'm struggling, and knowing where you're at and where you're coming from. So I end every video this way, and please hear it. I hope that you hear it and feel it. God loves you. I love you. Your family loves you. Your friends love you. And you are needed here. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.